Salamat, mama. Okay. My buntag, my phone, my gabi, no matter where you are. Excuse me, 1 second. Today's turned into a little bit of a challenge, but we're successful in a huge part of it. Okay, we're gonna try that one yet again. My buntag, my hapon, my gabi, no matter where you are in the world. I'm hoping that there's actually sound at this point. Okay. Hey, we have sound. So we're gonna do this for a third and final time. My buntag, my hapon, my gabi, no matter where you are in the world. Cindy and I had a little bit of a project this morning, so I'm running way late. But I did want to get the live stream out, so I want to doing it just from an office live stream. My apologies. All 5 this week might be from the office. That there's actually I'm not sure if it's turning into a typhoon or if it's still a low pressure area, but there's a prolonged large storm coming through that's supposed to be here for a couple, 3 days. Kayu. So that would be my MDB to you. I'm still waiting for one day to read a reply that I'm in Cagayan. Things are starting to, Steve, things are starting to open back up. So this is our Philippines. May actually get back to the Philippines here in the next few months. Cindy, and I know you've been through this. Cindy and I went through and had to go to the PSA this morning that 2 weeks ago, 10 days, 2 weeks ago or so, that Cindy ordered copies of the birth certificate online, and they were supposed to be delivered. That week, they said they were going to be delivered by Friday. Friday came and went. She called up. I guess finally did manage to get through to somebody, and they were saying, well, it has to be manually verified. And so it's gonna be another week. And so Friday came and went, and well, this morning we had an appointment down there anyhow, and that's why we didn't cancel this appointment. Now I am hugely glad we didn't. We went and just went down and picked them up. And so we actually have six copies of Donna's birth certificate. They're setting on top of my scanner so that way I get reminded that they need to be scanned in immediately. And they're identical copies, so that all I need to do is scan any one of them. But yeah, we finally got all of that. Now we can start moving forward with all of the different paperwork. We have to get, Cindy has to submit a copy of the PSA copy of birth certificate to the SSS to get her maternity leave pay, and then submit a copy to the BFA to get Chana's passport started. I've got to submit a copy to Social Security along with all of their paperwork, I believe in Manila. And I'm thinking if we can email copies, we can at least get that started. I don't know if we're going to have to courier them there or when we go to the consulate that they can courier in there. But I don't know. We need to get to that point yet. Because I need to submit it to the Security Administration to get her a Social Security card and get her on my Social Security benefits. This is our Philippines. I can definitely understand that I wasn't allowed in the office with her today, and even if I would have just been there as moral support, and I'd get better at that on the outside. We got a little bit of video. We're going to try and, I am going to edit it and post it tonight, just to get it edited. And we're going to do Chica Chica today, this afternoon. I want to do Chica this afternoon. I'm going to put it that way, so that we can actually get it edited up a little bit better tomorrow. And that way, may wait till tomorrow just to see if we get replies from anybody. And just get a little bit better on what we're going to have to do tonight. Probably going to do screen recordings of some of the stuff that I'm doing to submit all this stupid paperwork. Although, I don't know. I'm going to have to figure that one out. I'd kind of like to do a little bit of a video about doing that registry of birth abroad, because there wasn't a whole lot of good info about that here. And so, just kind of do a little bit, this is what you do, or this is what I did. And any of these videos that I do, about how to do stuff, I try to early on and throughout, emphasize this is what I did. This is what worked for me. There may be other ways to do this stuff. I may be doing it not the most efficient way. I actually got in trouble with the Social Security office in Phoenix for arguing about a middle name. Cindy wanted to do the standard naming convention here. Her last name moved to a middle name, and her married name became her last name. And Social Security office did not want to hear that. And I told them, just do the paperwork. Here's the paperwork. Here's what we got. Yeah, just please do it this way. Oh, you can't do that. That's a 2-name change, and this and that. That's when we started getting into the debate. Hey, it's a Filipino custom. Anything the Filipino government does is going to be done that way, and kind of brought some cultural sensitivity pressure to bear on them, and they backed down and did it, and weren't terribly happy about it. They did it. Oh, no worries, Mr. David. I'm glad you were able to show up. We got to go deal with the Philippines government this morning, which was kind of an interesting thing. Cindy had made the appointment a couple weeks ago. I gotta say that she made the appointment 2-3 weeks ago. I'd say about 3 weeks ago. Because we did the appointment and the online requests for the online copies at the same time. And we actually talked about, because it appeared that the online copies were going smoothly. We talked about canceling the appointment. We said, let's not. When we have the copies in hand, we can cancel it at the last minute if we need to. Well, as it turned out, I'm glad we didn't. But as typical in the Philippines, she went in. We got down there early. We got down there. She had a 7:05 appointment, 7:05 a.m. appointment. We got down there about 6:30, and there was already a line of 20 people, and 18 of the 20 hadn't done appointments, and so they were not happy that people were showing up and showing appointment slips and getting in front of them. Which I can't hate them for that, but at the same time, it's not a terribly big secret that you can do that. So, but again, here there's probably a lot of people that don't have internet access or a computer to do it from. So, and it's not like you can run down to the public library and do it like you could in the States. And that's kind of sad here, but I don't, it's just the way things are here. But she got everything in there. Got the guard, got past the guard, got in to sit down. I just kind of wandered around for a few minutes. And then she came back out and said, well, now she has to go she paid the fees and everything else. Now she has to go pick up the copies in an hour and a half. So we wandered around a little bit, took some pictures, took some video. And she went back into another door down the way and went in there for 20, 30 minutes and managed to pick up all the copies. The reason we got sick, we originally wanted 5. That way everybody can have an original copy and we're not worried about whether or not we get it back. If we do, cool, we got spares. If we don't, cool, we have a spare. And we wound up getting 6 because you had to have exact change, and all she had was 1,000 peso note. Was the only thing that she had was at least that much, and so she got an extra copy to bring it up as close to 1,000 as she could without going over. So it was like 940 or something like that. Is what we wound up paying. But like I say, at least we have all the copies in hand. And so now I reached out to the Social Security office, the consulate. I guess I reached out to the consulate and the Social Security in Manila, the Federal Benefits Unit in Manila. And you see, that's just it. That here, kids all get the mother's maiden name is their middle name. And that's your official middle name here. And that's not normal in the U.S. And they confused our Social Security clerk. And when a woman gets married, her last name, her maiden goes to her middle name. So I don't know if Cindy's technically De La Cruz Carrillo Rowe or if she's just Cindy Carrillo Rowe. I don't know if they have the 4 or 3 names. Either way, we got it. And so right now that's kind of where we're at with that. And it's just how things are working out here. The embassy actually wanted a December 3rd appointment for us, and I had to send back for them and let them know that I'm just doing information gathering, that we don't have our official PSA copy of the birth certificate back yet. But I did get all of the paperwork that we needed, and we got it filled out, so now I can request the appointment. The one thing we don't have is they want like 6 photos. They want two by 2 photos of me, her, and John. And so we need to. I think I've got passport photos of Cindy and I, but I know we don't have a passport photo of John. And I'm going to need to look up online on what we need for a photo of John for passport. And I think we need those as well. Dude, are you saying $600 or 600 pesos? Yeah, birth abroad is I haven't looked at all of the fees yet, but yeah, it's not cheap. And here, about a year and a half ago, a lot of those fees went up. So I guess I do need to double check with the. Holy crap! I guess I do need to get back in here and double check what those ticket fees are going to be. But yeah, that could definitely be a little on the pricey side. I tried to log into my stinking Streamlabs app. Okay, and this is why I leave the phone running, because right now I'm not actually looking at the YouTube thing, the YouTube page. The biggest advantage to doing that, what I'm doing is I'm going over the consulate site. Yeah, that's why I get the glasses. Okay, non-refundable application fee to be made during the appointment. The fee is $100. The cashier at the embassy accepts cash, either dollars or pesos, and credit cards. So I'll just show that on my credit card. Now, here's a question for you. I'm glad you were able to join us for a little bit there. David, enjoy. Yeah, it definitely gets sorted out eventually. Trust me, the New Zealand government has nothing up on the U.S. And like you, that I'm trying to deal with 2 different governments simultaneously. Yeah, that's fun. What's kind of idiotic at our point is both Cindy and I are U.S. passport carrying U.S. citizens. And yeah, gotta love it. Yeah, I don't see any other. I don't see any other fees other than the $100 fee. Now, the other thing is when we go to get passport, that's like another 125 or something like that. And this list actually does give a for photo guide and samples, please refer to, and it gives a web link. So, okay, it does. It actually gives a pretty decent. Oh, stupid. I'll have to link this up a little bit better. It actually does give a pretty good showing and explanation of how to do an infant's. An infant's photo. Yeah, let's see if I can do that without too much of a mess back here. Yeah, I've got a pretty decent stand that actually sits on. Yeah, I can leave it on an auto white balance so that it helps. But it does need to be in a white background, white plain background. All right, yeah, so okay. Yeah, this shouldn't be that bad getting a photo. And then we got to get them printed out, I guess. We'll, we'll, we'll see where it goes. Hey, John, how you doing, Philippine Experience? Definitely glad you were able to join us today. But, how's your saga going? But, you're getting to deal with well, you're technically dealing with just one government. You're dealing with the Philippine government, so that's a layer of challenge all unto itself. No, you're technically. I guess you're kind of dealing with two because you're dealing with Social Security, the Social Security Administration, a couple others. But from your video last night, it sounds like the Social Security part actually went way smoother than just getting a stinking doctor's note. Uh, Granted, it was a couple years ago when for a 13A, not an SRV. But yeah, I didn't have to have any of that notarized. I'm not entirely sure why you're having to have that notarized. But during this time frame, I can kind of see that to keep people from fraudulently filling out, just take a piece of paper and fill it in a health certificate just to get it done. But I'm certain there'll be a doctor out there. If you explain the situation, hey, I'll bring a mobile notary with me. The day I pick up the form, I'll bring a mobile notary with me and notarize it and be done with it. Some doctors' offices may have a notary on staff that I can almost see that as being something a handful of doctors would offer. And I could see something coming from the U.S. government not needing to be. Because of that it's from the U.S. government, it's unofficial enough form and verifiable enough form, and the U.S. typically tries to make it a little bit difficult to do too much fraud on those things. Excuse me. It's been a long morning. Now, again, one of the reasons why I try to fire up the Streamlabs for this, we actually got some neat little video down there. And I kind of made up my mind. I want to take either Cindy and I or Papa and I back down there to that Cologne district and get there right at sunup. Get there at 5:30. Basically just at sunup and start doing a 2-3 hour photo story of the area of it opening up. And if Cindy goes with me, I'll have her do some video of doing the photo story and just kind of talking through some of the photos that I want to get and such. And then doing a flicker album of just a photo story in that area as it's opening up. It was actually kind of cool seeing a lot of these stores. Papa and I have been down there doing a live stream a couple times. We've been down there a bunch. It's always been during the day. It's always been after the things had been open. It was kind of neat getting down there and seeing things as they started to open. Worst case, I may wait till you get here, John, and you can be the third member to kind of check it out and do a video with us. Don't get me wrong, Cologne area is not a bad or unsafe area in any way, shape, or form. Please do not mistake this next comment as that. But I would like one person down there with us that they can do, whose primary responsibility is just pay attention to people around us and help deal with street beggars and stuff like that. And that would be the advantage of having a third person there. But it is in no way unsafe. And Cindy and I, depending on what goes on between now and the first of the year, we may go back down there one of these days and do just that. Oh, don't worry about that. Don't worry about it, Daniel. That I thought of a couple Ford Chevy jokes. Yeah, my train of thought just completely derailed. My apologies. So Daniel, Mr. Ford, what's your trip looking like? Are you still going to wait till next fall, or are you going to try and make it this spring? Yeah, but then there's always first on race day too. So, uh, my father was a big Ford person. He owned one Chevy in his life back in the 30s, 40s, something like that, and had a really negative experience with it, and never owned another one. And uh, yeah, it was just a personal thing. And during the era that he had car, that he bought most of his cars, there were quality differences. There were differences between the vehicle makes. Uh, and you had some really diehard um, fan supporters of each brand. Uh, yeah, you ain't lying on that one, guy. Yeah, that moronic variant is, and this is part of what's huh, that. Anybody else notice any problem with any issues with the sound? Uh, it very well could be. I don't know. My microphone is way over here, so uh, and the phone I keep it turned way down because otherwise because it sits right under the microphone that I get a horrible echo. Whatever I say comes through on the phone a second later, and it bounces back and forth, and it gets no. I did that one day by accident, discovered that issue. Uh, Maybe I need to start saying "a" after everything I said. A. I'm sorry, that was a bad Canada joke. Sorry. Uh, did, did you ever hear the joke about how Canada got its name? That when they're deciding on a name, everybody gathered around and they agreed on it. They'll just start drawing a lesson out of a hat, and they'll make a word. When they finally make a word, they'll quit. And so the guy pulled out the first letter and it was C, and it goes A, and A. Yeah. Okay, a bad joke, but yeah, I heard that one years ago. Growing up where I did, it's close to Canada. There were a few Canadian jokes and some French Canadian jokes that always ran around, along with all the other Polish, Italian, German, and all the other ethnic humor that was common at that time. Uh, that and at that time, stuff like that didn't offend people, and they looked at it as just that it was humor. It wasn't meant to be offensive. Uh, I am still holding out hope that at least to domestic tourism, it's open well enough for Cinelog to happen this year. 2019 they had 2020 they had Cinelog. January 2020 they had Cinelog, and as a matter of fact, I was here for that one. 2021 they did not have Cinelog. Well, that was actually the 500th anniversary of the Cinelog celebration, and yeah, that was virtually non-existent. Uh, I haven't heard a whole lot about it. You're seeing some places start to real early signs of decorating for it. Christmas is still up, but even if they have to scale back or change events in some way, I am really hoping that they do at least to domestic tourism have some kind of sing along this year. That yeah, everything I'm hearing about this moronic uh, variant, yeah, that it's actually an anagram, I think is what they call them, where you can rearrange the letters. It's an anagram for moronic, which I kind of found ironic. Uh, but everything I'm hearing and saying it's highly contagious, yet the symptoms are exceedingly mild. That anybody that's been tested for it, that it's been found in, has been tested for other reasons. No one has been there because of symptoms. There's been a couple of virologists put out videos on YouTube that's actually where viruses try to mutate towards, is being a very contagious, mildly symptomatic illness that it allows them the best spread. If you make people too sick or worse, the virus doesn't spread well, and precautions are taken against it. So, that it limits its life, and so that they naturally try to mutate towards something that is more mild in symptom, but much more contagious, kind of like the common cold. And again, that's why there's never been a cure for the common cold, because it continues to mutate enough that by the time you isolated it, got a vaccine out to it, they would be mutated enough that they would be worthless. A few years back, I've never been a big one for flu vaccines. 10, 12 years ago, I started looking into one because that they screwed up. And I did some research into the flu vaccines, because they get this stuff out so quick. And they actually come out typically before the flu season. That the public health and officials and the virologists that are public health officials and all that crap go through and do their research and figure out what strain is going around in other parts of the world and use that as their best guess. And what happened that year is their best guess was wrong. And so it was a pretty bad flu season, because the vaccine that they used was actually for a different flu strain. And again, it's unquestionable that this is just getting politicized. And I really think there are governments around the world just trying to see how far they can push things. I think the U.S. is one of them. The current officials are trying to see how far they can push. And doing some other looking. Actually, the COVID-1, the SARS-CoV-1 that was out in 2012, They came out quite a while ago. That was actually a much worse flu and much uh, almost as communicable. That was virtually as communicable as SARS-CoV-2, COVID-19. Yet nothing was ever made of it. That had a hospitalization rate of up to 70%. It had a significantly higher mortality rate as well. But again, nothing was made of it. Avian flu that happened years ago, the way they finally got rid of that is they just stopped testing for it. That they realized that they were getting into a situation of a case study. The people that were testing positive never displayed any symptoms or any problems with it. At this point, a lot of the hospitalizations that are happening, not all, by no means all, but a significant number of the hospitalizations that are happening are because of other problems and people test positive for COVID while they're in the hospital. And you're already starting to see that, Daniel. You're already starting to see that. Before you're actually starting to see push and shove happening in a lot of areas. Even places where they would routinely and initially did have a lot of faith and confidence in their government are starting to push back. And even around here, the last few weeks, traffic and things are opening back up way more. And if they try to close down again at this point, yeah, I think they're going to have a lot of problem on their hands. I think that the general populace is just tired of it. And I think they have pushed as far as they can. I think I've seen some of his videos, but I will definitely look him up. Stupid. Yeah, a while ago I tried to go back and find comments. And so if there's a comment that I want to deal with later, like going back and watching Dr. John Campbell, what I do is I take a quick photo of it. I found it on my phone. I can take photos. I can take screenshots on my phone while I'm doing a live stream as well. And so I will periodically, you'll see me periodically do a screenshot on my phone. Doing the same exact thing. I guess I could do that a screenshot on there versus coming over. I don't know. Anyways, yeah, I do a lot of silly things. And this COVID, this situation, there are 1,000 reputable medical personnel making videos and giving review of the situation, and there still is no consensus. For every one that you can say, hey, it's not a big deal, we need to carry on our life, this will go away by itself. You're getting that, oh my God, life is going to end, that if we don't get immunized. booster shots every 48 hours, we're going to die. The entire planet's going to die, and everywhere in between that spectrum, it is going to, so it just, I don't know. I do know Fauci and a few of these others, it wound up losing any credibility that they had to the vast majority of people. I to this day, I will still say this is a circumstance that was created primarily by the liberal politicians in the U.S. that took on a life of its own and got out of their control, and that they're kind of scrambling to no good crisis should go to waste, and taking advantage of what they can. But it's beginning to hurt even now. It's really beginning to hurt even the more liberal and the progressive type that they're trying to ignore it as best as they can. And if you notice, the government stopped doing updates and all that, and you are seeing periodic, attempts at requiring immunizations and all this good stuff, but the daily counts and the daily briefings and all that good garbage is all falling by the wayside. They're doing the best they can to not let the panic go completely away, but also to try and mitigate what they can as far as causing them problem and making them look like they're not able to deal with it. And they are doing a lot of blaming of the problem. Well, it's because of the unvaccinated that we can't go out in public and stupid stuff like that. That it is kind of coming back and biting them. And there are a lot of reputable medical people talking about national immunity going out, and that it's not being looked at as a legitimate immunity. And so that's further bolstering all the anti-vaxxers. David from New Zealand sent an article the other day that they're doing one of the vaccines causes Guillain-Barré syndrome or something like that, GBS. That's a neurologic that it screws up your nervous system for a while, and it can be life-threatening with a higher mortality rate than COVID-19 has, much higher fatality rate than COVID-19 has, especially if it's not treated rapidly and early. I had to look up what it actually was. And when you go and look at the site, that COVID-19 and this virus are considered one of the main causes of it. So, and if you go back into that virus database, that there are a fairly significant number of people that have gotten the syndrome. Predominantly, I think it's Johnson & Johnson. Johnson. But there are quite a few people that got it from the other vaccines as well. Before the Park Lane is where we stayed, and we're very happy with Park Lane. We only had to do about a 48-hour quarantine, and we had to go in long enough and until we got a negative PCR test. And once we got the negative PCR test, we could go out and do other things. And we did. And we did as much as we could. But at that point, you had to have that quarantine pass and all that crap. And the hotel had 2 for the entire hotel. And so we had to wait until one of them became available. And then we were able to go out without one. And a couple people questioned, well, you're 2 people, you're supposed to have 2 of these. Oh, well, hotel only gave us 1. So they said it'd be good for the couple. And what have I been saying? I am horrible with that. My apologies. Okay. I go. Okay, the D4 thing I'll do. Then you'll notice that I'll typically call John Philippine Experience. Then I'll call Steve. This is our Philippines. That I will typically try to include the name because I realize a lot of guys, especially when today, pretty much everybody knows everybody here. But a lot of times, and this is something I had somebody ask me about, that they were kind of joking around, that they showed up and because I was using names, they weren't, they had a little bit of trouble connecting comments with names, screen names. And so I'll often include the screen name in saying that. And that's why I do that. I thought maybe I was calling you David. That I'm horrible at. See, I really do take advice when I hear it from people. And that is kind of cool because I know that I get some people that pop in here periodically. Like Brandon Bishop, that he'll come in, and again, that one's kind of obvious, Brandon. Although with the current memes going around, he may go to B Bishop. Yeah, that's kind of me too. I don't care what you call me. I've been called just about everything in a book. And I think I actually want to create a few entries over the years too. Yeah, my smoking is going to pour. My apologies. But yeah, like I say, boots on the ground. I'm kind of seeing things open back up. I get where Steve and this is my Philippine Steve and John Philippine Experience are saying that these updates that come out can be kind of nerve wracking, especially when they panicked over the first initial announcement of this moronic strain out there and shut down their attempt at opening. I'm hoping and expecting that they're going to go with, okay, it was our bad, it wasn't that big a deal. Better safe than sorry, all that good stuff, and move on with life. But I'm not holding my breath. At this point, I'm not holding my breath. It may be for people that couldn't normally get in, it may be a while. But I haven't heard anything about rescinding the buy-in visa privileges and stuff like that they have instituted. I haven't heard about them regressing much other than not approving easier entries. So I think worst case status quo is going to stay for a while. The biggest thing I could see would be a stumbling block, and I could see that is that here a little bit ago, and I haven't heard any more than just the initial announcement that after the first of the year, the Cebu City Mayor was going to start requiring vaccination cards for basically anywhere in public, anything in public. And I could see that being political suicide if he pulls that right before Sinulog happens. That there would be way too many people scrambling to figure out how to deal with that with some kind of effectiveness. And that could severely hurt and cripple any of the Sinulog events or any of the planned events going on. And somebody was saying, I read somewhere that like 40% of their tourists was during Sinulog every year. It was a significant number. That come in during Sinulog, and specifically for Sinulog. They're in they're in Canada or the church over here. Hey, Philly, how you doing today? Or is this a joke? How are things looking down there where you're at? And have you been able to get into Bislake at all to see if that's starting to get back to normal? There's an online English language sermon for a local church here that we attend, we listen to, I guess. But yeah, I can see that happening. They're slowly starting to open back up. As far Andy, as far as things starting to open back up, as far as things starting to get a little bit more reasonable, normal, here in Cebu City, you're starting to see the jeepney routes and everything else start to open. Face shields have kind of went by the wayside. Matter of fact, at the appointment today, that it was noted that you were supposed to have one. But then Cindy took one, but was never asked about it. So it just stayed in her bag. Didn't go to any of the malls down there, that they weren't quite open, and we wanted to get back on it quick for a couple reasons, mainly Cindy missed China. We were going to take jeepneys back just to kind of have fun, kind of a little bit of adventure with it. And Cindy was saying that she doesn't mind and will do it if I really want to, but suggested that because of going straight back to China, that might be best to keep minimals down. So even there, yeah, I'm never going back to comments. John Philippine experience. Yeah, I haven't seen many of the churches, but I could see some of the bigger churches. We still haven't actually attended an in-person sermon. Uh, because of social distancing and stuff, you've got to register online and all that. I don't think seniors are still allowed, so Papa couldn't go there. They wouldn't allow Shauna because it's so young. And so we're probably just going to do online for the indefinite future. But that they are opening up. And if that's something you would like to go do, there are means to do it here still even. So Phyllis and Joe, Andy, they're maybe not back to normal, but at least heading definitely in that, couple, 2-3 big steps in that direction. So that's a huge good thing. Yeah, because each of the LGUs, because Bislick, the CPIT, that area, they took a huge step back a little bit a few weeks, a month or so ago, didn't they? Reinstituting the QPAS and all that good garbage. But these regulations have been like a freaking tango: 2 steps forward, 2 steps back, 3 steps forward, 1 step back, and it's been that way for going on 2 years now. A couple times I've actually looked about traveling down there. That I see an orthopedic surgeon for my back, and he's asked about getting an MRI done, but the nearest open MRI is actually in Bislick. And I guess with medical reasoning, I could get a note from him, there's a medical necessity. But they kind of don't like that because you could, why doesn't he just do the sedation and just do it there? So until it opens a little bit more freely to where I don't need the exception case, probably not going to travel there. But like I say, I'm seeing things start to open a little bit more. And I'm hoping after the first of the year that it does finally take a couple big steps forward. As far as general tourists, yeah, that's probably going to be. I hate to say it, but I could see that as late as next summer. I could see that as late as June, July next year. And you got to remember the elections are coming up in May, so that the new administration may immediately try to go with, we need to be done with this. We need to get it open. The new administration could be saying, no, we need to shut this down and get it over with altogether. I don't know. So. Oh, dude, that's not good. You need to have that go check quick. High blood pressure is not something to mess with. Papa deals with high blood pressure. They call it high blood. That he deals with that, and when we first got here last October, we found out that he had high blood pressure. And so we immediately got him in and got him checked out, went to a cardiologist and had him checked out and got the medication for him and stuff. And we actually brought a blood pressure cuff, thermometer, a couple other things like that. And we made him do blood pressure checks nightly and keep an eye on it. And the medications did. The first one was a little bit high, and it kind of caused lightheadedness and some other things. And they called and spoke with the doctor and said, yeah, just have the dosage. And so he did, and that was fine. And he got under control. And, but like so many people, and not just Filipino, but so many people in general, he stopped taking it, and then had to get a health certificate. Found out his blood pressure was skyrocketing again, and that's when he was asked about it. What about your medication? And, are you still taking your medication? We need to get you back there. Uh, and that's when he said, no, it was under control, so I stopped taking it. No, 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 no. This is something you need to take until the doctor tells you to stop taking it. And so he went back on it, and a week or so later, his blood pressure was back under control. And yeah, he hasn't stopped taking it since. And I think Cindy's making him take his blood pressure once a week just to keep track. But and so yeah, we do. We kind of keep an eye out on him, and that's part of the reason why I haven't been doing live streams with him lately. Is just the exercise is good and much needed, but because it's between 9 and 10, it's kind of warm in the mornings here. Some mornings, and I encourage him, and I try to have him slow down, but he tends to walk at a pretty rapid pace. He walks to get somewhere, and so yeah, but and he goes to the market and does all kinds of other things too. So but yeah, Andy, Phyllis and Jody, you need to get that checked out. Something I find with weight issue, but and because of that, I need to keep an eye on my blood pressure. That fortunately, our family are kind of bigger people. Most of them are heavy smokers, but believe it or not, heart issues, cardiac and blood pressure issues are something we really don't deal with. That nobody in our family has ever had heart attacks or anything like that. So my blood pressure is 118, 120 over like 70, 80 typically. So, but I do keep an eye on it. My father, he was a horrible smoker. Grew up around steam engines, steam trains. His father was a railroad worker. He was a railroad worker. His lungs, by the time he died, were a freaking pair of little charcoal briquettes, and he couldn't breathe. And that's basically what he died from. He basically, for all intents and purposes, it took about 3 years to suffocate. Yeah, if you've got meds for it, and you're on meds for blood pressure, is the example I just gave with Papa. You need to stay on those. It's not something you can come off of without a doctor's note, without a doctor's advice. And there's a reason they call high blood pressure a silent killer. Because typically there's not a whole lot of signs or symptoms. We had a guy at work years ago that he had a heart attack, was on medication for high blood pressure, that they found out he had high blood pressure after the heart attack, was on for a couple of years and finally decided that he was good enough, he was done, stopped taking them, and about a month later had a massive coronary and died. And he didn't feel any different. And that was part of his thing. He stopped taking them, but had a week or two supply left that he could go back on quick if he felt bad. And that was the problem. He never felt bad until he felt bad enough that he was in the hospital and on intensive care, and then finally passed away. And right now, for from being, I know you guys have been, that Bissling on the Seaford area has been shut down for even longer than we have. Uh, and so the inactivity is a huge thing too. But I see that it's been an hour and 10 minutes. I try to keep it down to an hour to, respect everybody's time and such. And like I said, I got a buttload of paperwork to do today with all of our Social Security and everybody's government that we got to deal with. So I did get some video. I'm going to do everything I can, qualify that, everything I can, to get a short video, probably 5-10 minute video tops. And then I might be stretching it to a 5-10 minute video. It might be 4 or 5 minute video of our trip this morning, getting our PSA copy of birth certificates. So kind of look for that tonight. Not sure. Definitely no promises on that one. But from Cebu City, Guadalupe in Cebu City, Mabuhay.